So yes, it's time for another album review now, and today we're going to be going over Phil Collins' Face Value. So that's right, welcome back to another album review, guys. Now, quite soon after the last one, just wanted to kind of, I was in the mood to do another video today. I had a free hour, which I thought I'd take advantage of. And I thought, it'd be good to do another video. And I thought, okay, let's do another album review so we can kind of sync this new rating system in which we've got here on this channel. So then, that was rating each song out of 10 and then adding the total score up, dividing it by the number of scores given, and that will give us our overall mark out of 10. Now then, I do want to give a shout out to Gaza P, who left a comment on my George Harrison 33 and a third review, and he actually gave me a really good idea that rating each song is all good basically, but what about the artwork on the album? And I really thought that was a good point. We got to take the artwork on the album on board. So we're going to add a new thing in here. What we're going to do is we're going to go over information on the album. Going to go over each track individually. We're going to mark each track out of 10. Then when we get to the artwork, I'm going to show you my copy of the vinyl record, then mark that out of 10. We're going to add all of the marks out of 10 up, and then we're going to divide it by, well, 12. There's 12 tracks, plus the album artwork, so we're going to divide it by 13, and that will give us our overall mark out of 10 for this album. So anyway, Phil Collins' Face Value, we're going to dive right into it today. This was his first debut album. Phil Collins, most famously known for Genesis, of course, through the 70s, playing drums for Genesis, and then, of course, when Peter Gabriel left after The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Phil Collins took over as lead singing, and took the band for a pretty crucial point in their career, because fans, the die-hard Genesis fans, really didn't know what to think when Pete Gabriel left. And, Phil Collins took them in a great direction, I felt. Unfortunately, then they lost Steve Hackett, and as we went into the 80s, the band, stayed very modern with the times. They got a real 80s sound, as you can imagine, like everyone did in the 80s. Now, I'm not going to, I don't want to go into, on this video, Pete Gabriel or Phil Collins. I love both of I love Genesis from start to finish, really. I just love it all. I'm just one of those guys who can just listen to anything from Genesis, really. Phil Collins had a really tough time, I think, steering the band in this direction. And then, of course, he went on and played on one of Phil Collins' went on and played on one of Peter Gabriel's self-titled albums. And he had so much fun doing the drums for Peter Gabriel on one of his albums. I don't think he done it for the whole album. I think he just done it for about 5-6 songs or something. And I'm not sure which of his 4 albums it was. But I'm sure there's someone out there who knows, and hopefully they'll let us know in the comments below. After doing that for Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins come back to the studio and he's like, I want to do a solo album. And this solo album has quite a dark, kind of gritty feel to it, because his first marriage was just breaking down, divorce and whatnot. So it was a bit of a dark time for Phil Collins, which he tried not to let come out in too much of the Genesis albums at the time, which was Abacab, self-titled. But he put it more into his first 2 solo albums, so Face Value and then, of course, Hello, I Must Be Going. So you can really hear it in them 2 albums, how his marriage was kind of just really getting in these songs. But anyway, this album was released on the 9th of February 1981, so we just hit the 80s, we're getting that real 80s sound. And, of course, it got to number 1 in the UK and number 7 in the US. So the album has 12 tracks on, 2 of which are covers, the other 10 are original pieces, I believe. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go over them all individually now. So, of course, it opens up with what is probably Phil Collins' most famous track, In the Air Tonight. Now, then everyone remembers that. I believe that a film in the late 80s or 90s really kind of regained a spark for that song. It hit the radios again, started going up the charts again. So I think it got popular on, like, its second time around in the singles charts. But anyway, good opener, I think. I think it's Phil trying to show that he can be a bit proggy as well, because we kind of get that same beat throughout the whole thing, which sounded a bit proggy at the start, I guess, but it got a bit boring after a while, I must say. I love the echo effect on his vocals about halfway through, and I really do like the vocals. The lyrics, they don't tie together too well, but I like the lyrics. It goes on, it's about a 4-minute song, and the first 3 minutes of that same beat I love the echo guitar in the background as well, but the song, the echo, and everyone knows it from when the drums kick in, of course, and the song speeds up for the last minute. But I think that would have worked better if you'd done it about halfway through instead of in the last quarter. But anyway, overall, really good song there, I must say. Strong opener. Really good. I'm going to give that one an 8 out of 10. So now we get onto the track, This Must Be Love. Not the one which we all know, It Must Be Love. It's This Must Be Love, not It Must Be Love. So, a slower, smoother, calm song, definitely. Slows it down completely from, what we just came off of, the end of In the Air Tonight, which is, of course, very upbeat, fast track. The end of it. So it slows the album down. You've got really good vocal performance here, actually. Phil Collins always kind of tends to sound the same, as we all know. But really, really good vocal performance here, I think. I think he sounds really clear, really fresh. I've got to give it to him here. The lyrics are a bit weaker, though, on this one, I feel. They're a bit sloppy at times. But anyway, I love the chorus to this one. But it doesn't do too much. Throughout the whole song, it just doesn't change at all. It's like the first 3 minutes of In the Air Tonight. At least with In the Air Tonight, we got that end bit, which was just amazing. This one doesn't do that. It needed something, either, somewhere in the middle, could have been at the end, could have been at the start, just something to kind of make it sound a bit different. But the song kind of goes in one straight line the whole time. So I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. So now we move on to the track Behind the Lines. It's a great, fast 80s song. Really picks up. You can feel it's from the 80s. If you've never heard of Phil Collins, you've never heard of this album, that one come on the radio, you could pick it up. That's from the 80s. Gotta be. Lifts the album up, definitely. But again, it does the exact same thing as the last song. It's a good song. It really is. And it's fun. But it just doesn't change. It's kind of like the same beat throughout the whole thing. Of course, you've got the chorus, which stands out a bit. But the song really doesn't change. It really doesn't adapt. It doesn't have anything in it. There isn't a part of the song that you remember. It's just kind of, it needs something in it. Because, going back to In the Air Tonight, everyone just remembers that drum beat where it goes do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And, of course, then Phil comes in with his vocals. Everyone remembers that bit from In the Air Tonight. If it wasn't for the last quarter of In the Air Tonight, would you remember that song much? Would you remember the first, the first half of it or so? No, you wouldn't. Not really. Because, it's that last bit that makes that song, really. And, with This Must Be Love and Behind the Lines, both suffer from the same thing. They just don't have nothing that's too memorable in them that makes it stand out. However, it is a good song. This is one of the covers, of course. And I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. It's, still an enjoyable song, I think. It's a foot tapper. That's what it is. It's a foot tapper. So now we move on to The Roof is Leaking. Now, one of Phil's 2 attempts on the album to do a ballad here. And I like one of them quite a bit. But unfortunately, it's the one we're going to get to later. This one here just really, really doesn't do anything for me. This one was, it's not a bad song, but it's not good. So I can already tell you now, it's going to be middle of the road. It's going to be a 5 out of 10 for this song. But I'll explain why. So it's got a nice piano work on it. Great. Phil Collins, he does some great piano work here. Because he does play the piano on this album. For those of you who didn't know that. And, it's, the lyrics and vocals are okay, but the lyrics are okay. The vocals sound so flat here. I think it's more the effect they put on his voice here. Kind of sounds like he's done it in a big open hall, a big open room, and he's hasn't got a mic. He's just got his kind of like what your voice would sound like today if you put your mobile on the floor in a big hall and started singing. That's kind of what it sounds like. So I really don't like the effect that they've got on his vocals here. And there are parts of his vocals actually on this song which generally don't sound good. So I think this song would have been good. I like ballads. I'm a really big fan of these kind of slow piano songs. A big Paul McCartney fan, so I love it when McCartney does them. So I think this song would have sounded much better if it had been produced, had a bit more tweaking to it. I think it would have sounded much better. So, yeah, not great there. And it's a very short song. It's come and gone on the album before you know it. So, not a very good attempt there. And then we got Droned, which is a short instrumental, which is really, really poor, to be honest. It's, it carries straight on from The Roof is Leaking. And, it's Phil trying to be a bit proggy, I think, but have that 80s sound in there. It's like, okay, guys, don't hate on me too much. I know you guys don't like me for what I've done for to Genesis. So we've got, here's some of the early Genesis prog sound mixed in with some of my 80s sound. It should be a good combination, I think, but again, the song's short. It doesn't have enough time to change. It doesn't do anything really. But it's not awful, but I'm going to give this, I couldn't decide whether to give this a 3 or a 4 out of 10, so I've gone straight in the middle with a 3.5. Best I could do on that one. And then again, it continues into the last track on side 1, Hand in Hand, which is a really, really long instrumental, which I don't understand. I don't, because it sounds so similar to Droned. They both have the same kind of back steps to them. It's like you have Droned, and then Hand in Hand starts off slow, but it gets the same sound that Droned had. Would have made much more sense to have just had that as one big arse instrumental song closing side 1. And I would have felt a lot better about it, to be honest. But he split it up for some reason. It is better than Drone because it has more time to change. It starts off slow. It goes through some stages. Quite like it, I must say. It's good. It's decent. But then again, there's not enough in it that pulls me to it. I like instrumentals which, for me, more really good guitar work. 'Cause I'm a Clapton fan. You know, I like to have some really cool guitar work in instrumentals. Some good beats, maybe a drum solo or something. And, you know, this one does have parts of it which have hint at some little solos, but they're very small and very background orientated. The song really just doesn't have enough for me, so I'm going to give it middle of the road again. It's going to be a 5 out of 10. So now we're moving on to side 2, of course, and we've got the track I Missed Again, which is probably, I'd say, second most popular track on the album. Quite a popular track when it came out, but I think In the Air Tonight is always going to be one of the songs which Phil Collins is remembered for. So I Missed Again, a nice, fun, 80s, energetic sound song. Good vocals on this one. Gotta say, it really is one of the better songs on the album. But again, it doesn't have any moments in it that change. But the thing is, this one here holds up in other ways. It holds up in great vocals, good lyrics. You know, it's a bit more of a catchy beat, one that you're going to remember more. So I gotta say, this is a much better song for Phil, I'd say, on this album. So I'm going to go in with a 7 out of 10 on this one. Okay, so now we're on to You Know What I Mean. And You Know What I Mean is a much slower piano ballad. Beautiful song though, beautiful, absolutely love it. Apart from the strings on this song, Phil does everything on this song himself. The piano, the vocals, it sounds really good. It's much better than The Roof Is Leaking. This is Phil's ballad. This is a really good song. Good lyrics, good vocals, a very strong song on the album. I'm going to give that one a 7 out of 10 too. And then we move on to the track Thunder and Lightning. So, nice drum start on this one, pretty quick. And then the vocals just pretty much, whoosh, they just kick right in, really. Another good 80s song. Good chorus on this one, I have to say. The chorus is probably the most memorable bit about this one. But the only problem with this song, again, is it does have its moments where it changes, especially in the chorus, which I like. It kind of shows that the song is going, you know, you've got this part of the song, and you've got this part, and you've got this bit. I like that. The only issue with this one is it goes on a little bit too long, I find. And it just loses my interest after about 2 minutes into it. Because it is about a 4.5 minute, 5 minute song nearly. And I think that's the only problem with this one. It just fails to keep the interest. The first 2 minutes of it, though, is a foot tap. You're like, damn, this is a good one. It loses its effect very quick, I think. So I'm going to give that one a 6 out of 10. So now we have a track called I'm Not Moving. Now, I'm Not Moving is a fun piano song. It has a great beat to it. Vocals come in straight away again. Again, this one has a great chorus, I think. I think that's what makes this one stand out. This one's a really fun song as well. I love how the vocals kick in really quick. I love the effects on the chorus. It just sounds great. The backing vocals on this one, though, again, it's Phil, but he's putting his own kind of special, kind of unique, cool effect on his backing vocals over the top of his leading vocals, which sound really nice, I think. Something which Jeff Lynne would probably do on one of his solo albums. Kind of reminds me of that bit. So that sounds really cool. That song there is going to get a 7 out of 10, I think. Yeah, give that one a 7 out of 10. So then the next track up, If Leaving Me Is Easy. Slower song. Great sax work on it at the beginning. I remember listening to the first 30 seconds of this one being like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. Kind of like slow 80s prom disco kind of sounding. the song is, this song is just so boring though. That's the only problem. It doesn't do anything. The lyrics are good. That's the best bit about it. The lyrics are interesting. Other than that, the song doesn't do anything. The vocals from Phil sound the same as always. And the song just goes on for way too long. So I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. And then, of course, closing the album, the famous Lennon-McCartney Beatles cover, Tomorrow Never Knows. Now, Tomorrow Never Knows is one of my favourite Beatles songs. Closed one of my favourite Beatles albums, Revolver. And that original song is so special and captured because it has all these great moments in it. It's, it's got so much under its belt where it's like, the song was one of the first songs to put the drums on backwards, to have some backwards recordings on it. That original song, I don't want to get into detail on the original Beatles version, but that original one was a masterpiece. One of their hardest songs to recapture. So I'm going to give Phil a thumbs up for trying to do it, but I'm sorry, Phil. There are certain Beatles songs which, go ahead, try and cover them. Stevie Wonder done an absolute fantastic version of We Can Work It Out. Beatles covers can be done, but they're some of the hardest things to do. This song, I don't think you can cover it. I'm sorry, Phil. I do think you gave it a good attempt. I like the fact that you did put some backing stuff on it. Didn't sound too bad. The only way for me to say it is I don't think that your vocals fitted this song too well, Phil. And then, of course, there were just elements of it. The song went on too long, and it's not a very long song. It shouldn't be a long song. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. But anyway, now, of course, we're going to move on to the album artwork, as Gazza P suggested. And, I got to give it to you, Gazza, because, this is, you've got to pay homage to the artwork, of course. So, an album cover kind of fits the tone of the album a bit, I guess. A bit dark and a bit depressing at certain times. But then, not all the albums like that. So, does it really make sense? Not bad. I like the font that they've used on the spine instead of just boring normal font. Brilliant gatefold. Brilliant gatefold. Absolutely love it. It tells you who's doing what on each song. So far, I'm probably thinking about 7 out of 10 now on the artwork. But then we get to the back, and this is where everything goes downhill. When I'm writing my notes down for this, I had to go on Wikipedia and copy the songs down, because how on earth are you meant to read that? You can read the ones at the top, but can you read these ones down the bottom? What a poor back cover. Unfortunately, album artwork-wise, it just gets ruined on the back cover here, so I'm going to take it down to a 4 out of 10, because this is awful. This is one of the worst designs ever. So, to the back cover. The rest of the album's pretty good, but, so we're going to take it down a bit. But anyway, let's have a look at the record. And again, I love the record labels that they've done with Phil, because they kind of look pretty cool, I must say. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, for this album review. And then what I've done is I've added up all the scores which I've given for each song. Added up, of course, or added onto it the album artwork score. And then divided it by 13, as I've given it 13 scores. And this is going to give it a mark which I feel quite strongly about. I would have given this album, if I wasn't doing this adding up system, which I've just started, I would have given it a score very similar to this, I think, anyway. 5.7 for Phil Collins' face value. And then I say anything under a 5 is bad. Anything above a 5 is good. So it's above a 5. So it's a good album, but it's not much better than good, I'd say. So it's a decent album. Phil's done better. I think Phil's done a little bit worse as well. So anyway, not a bad album. We're going to kind of go with an okay, good album. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, please subscribe, and please leave a message. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.